It was a cold winter morning in Moscow. Snowflakes drifted gently from the sky, covering the city in a quiet, white blanket. Inside the Kremlin, President Vladimir Putin sat in his office, reviewing reports from the Ministry of Defense. His phone buzzed. It was an urgent message. An old war pilot, Colonel Sergei Ivanov, had requested a personal meeting. Putin raised an eyebrow. Sergei was a legend, a decorated fighter pilot who had served the country for over 3 decades. He had flown countless missions, saved lives, and trained a new generation of pilots. But now he had nothing left. He had retired years ago, and life had been hard ever since. Still, Putin was intrigued. He ordered his assistant to arrange a meeting immediately. A face-to-face meeting later that evening. Sergei walked into the Grand Kremlin halls, dressed in an old, slightly worn-out military jacket. His face was lined with years of hardship. He saluted Putin, standing tall despite his weary eyes. "Mr. President," he began, his voice deep but steady. "I never thought I'd ask for help, but I have no choice." Putin leaned forward, listening intently. Sergei took a deep breath. "My son. He's sick. The treatment is expensive, and I've already sold everything I have. I'm not here to beg, sir. I'm here to offer my services. One last mission." The room fell silent. Putin studied the old pilot for a moment, then stood up and walked to the window. He had always respected the warriors of his country, and now one of the greatest stood before him, asking for one final flight. The impossible mission. Putin turned back and spoke in a firm voice. "Sergei, you have given everything to this nation. You don't need to prove yourself anymore." Sergei shook his head. "Let me fly one last time. There is a high-risk mission over the mountains. I can do it. I know those skies better than anyone." Putin sighed. He admired the man's spirit. "I'll make you a deal," he said. "You will not fly, but your son will get the best treatment, fully covered." Sergei's eyes widened in shock. "But, sir," Putin raised a hand. "No discussion. You have already done your duty. This country takes care of its own." Tears welled up in Sergei's eyes, but he quickly wiped them away and saluted. "Thank you, Mr. President." Putin nodded. "Now go. Be with your son." A hero's reward. The next morning, Sergei received a call from the hospital. His son's treatment had begun. The best doctors in Moscow were handling his case, thanks to a direct order from the Kremlin. Meanwhile, in Putin's office, a military file lay open on the desk. Inside was a commendation for Sergei Ivanov, for a lifetime of service, dedication, and sacrifice. Sometimes the bravest missions don't take place in the skies. They take place in the hearts of men who refuse to give up. And for Sergei, this was his greatest victory yet.